free recognition of Somaliland.
Somaliland.
caalamka ayaa ka waramaysa oo falanqeynaysa doorashada ka dhici doonta gudaha Somaliland. Dhammaantood waxay ka siman yihiin inay sharaxaan ama wax ka taabtaan taariikhda iyo hannaanka dimuqraadiyadeed ee xisbiyada badan oo soo bilaabmay sanadkii 2002 isla markaana ay Somaliland ku dhaqmaysay muddo ka badan 22 sano. Warbaahintaasi oo ku kala yaala dacallada adduunka ayaa waxaa ka mid ah warbaahinta waddanka Jarmalka ee DW waxaana xustay in doorashadani ay saameyn ku yeelan doonto xaaladda gobolka Geeska Afrika taas oo kacday bay yiraahdeen kadib markii Somaliland iyo Itoobiya ay heshiis isfahan wada gaadheen waxaana ay ka warameen sida dalal ku yaala gobolka iyo kuwa xulafo laahiba ay isugu hawlayaan inay hor istaagaan dalka heshiis.
Somaliland was a British protectorate until 1960 when it united with Somalia. But then, after a devastating civil war, Somaliland declared its independence from Somalia in 1991. Since then, it's effectively functioned as a self-governing state. However, to this day, no country in the world has recognised Somaliland. That's a situation that both the incumbent party and the main opposition party are hoping to change. These elections are seen as a main step in that effort. The stakes are very high for Somaliland's next leader, who will face critical challenges. These include consolidating Somaliland's fragile democracy, which was put to the test by violence and unrest during the postponed 2022 elections. They will also need to boost Somaliland's economy and, of course, continue this push for international recognition.
Now, Somaliland has held a long-delayed election amid hopes the new U.S. administration will support its bid for formal recognition as a sovereign state.
Election workers in Somaliland are counting ballots after Wednesday's presidential election. It is the fourth presidential poll since the region broke away from Somalia 3 decades ago. The Election Commission said voting day had passed without incident. Incumbent Musa Bihi is seeking a second term. He was challenged by opposition leader Abdurrahman Mohamed Abdullahi of the Wadani Party and Faisal Ali Warabi of the smaller UCID Party. Preliminary results are not expected until late Friday, with final tallies expected in a week's time. The election was dominated by a deal granting Ethiopia access to 20 kilometers of the Gulf of Aden coastline in exchange for recognition. Somalia has called the agreement an attack on its sovereignty. Despite living autonomously for over 30 years, no single country recognizes Somaliland's independence.
Closer to home in Somaliland, more than 1 million registered voters today went to the polls in Somaliland to elect their president, as the country, which declared its separation from Somalia 33 years ago, went into a historic vote that saw iris recognition technology used to identify voters. Our very own Emmanuel Toe is on the ground in Somaliland and brings us the following.
From as early as 6 a.m., long queues meandering through Somaliland's capital, Hargeisa, as more than 1.2 million voters from the country's total population of about 6 million turned up for the presidential election. President Musa Bihi, who is flying the ruling party Kulmiye's flag, leading the country to the ballot, first to cast his vote as he seeks to extend his 7-year tenure for another 5 years after elections were delayed for 2 years, calling on the country to remain peaceful regardless of the outcome of the vote.
Anyone who makes chaos today, we're recognizing him or her as one of the enemies of Somaliland, who are against the development of this country.
The opposition leader Abdurrahman Mohamed of the Wadani Party also exercising his democratic right and remaining hopeful of a win.
Call to the people of Somaliland to benefit from this opportunity and decide their future and children's future.
Faisal Ali Hussein of Uid Party also cast his vote amid a huge turnout, and for the first time the country deployed an iris recognition system used to identify the voters and piloted in more than half of the polling stations.
This will be the first election that iris verification will be implemented here in Somaliland. We have decided to use a pilot and we're piloting it at the regional capital cities.
This is not the first time I voted. The iris was good, satisfactory, quick. I'm very happy with it.
The voter wears this black device on their eyes and the system automatically reads the information after recognizing the iris as captured during the voter registration process.
You might wait for 1 hour, but when you go inside, there's two systems. You have the card, and then you have the Irish system. Where else in Africa you have an Irish system?
I have seen the iris identification is working most of the time. It is very efficient, it's very quick. Within 3 seconds, it is able to identify the voter, and voting is going on closely.
The voters, a majority who support the call for recognition as an independent state, hopeful of a peaceful election and a step closer to the target. 3 top political parties have also been allowed to operate for the next 10 years. As the polls close, the tallying process has already kicked off, with the winner set to be declared within 7 days. For a country that has been seeking recognition 33 years on, the use of iris recognition to identify voters is a bold statement that it is ready for the table of the countries that fly their flag at the United Nations headquarters in New York, USA. Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV, Hargeisa, Somaliland.
Voters in Somaliland cast their ballots for president on Wednesday.
Everybody votes in peace. Once they vote, they go home, relax, and enjoy the result.
The election comes as the breakaway Somali region sees international recognition within reach after 3 decades of de facto self-rule. Though it declared independence from the Mogadishu government in 1991, it has not been recognized by any country. That's restricted access to international finance and the ability of its 6 million people to travel. President Muse Bihi Abdi, in power since 2017, is running against the main opposition party's candidate, Abdirahman Siro. The two candidates differ on domestic issues, but both have expressed support for a pact with Ethiopia that would grant Addis Ababa a strip of land in exchange for diplomatic recognition. Somaliland's representative to Kenya told reporters that the government would finalize the deal after the election, regardless of who wins. And there's also optimism that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump will be favorable to Somaliland's cause, with several State Department officials from Trump's first term publicly voicing support for recognition. Somaliland has mostly enjoyed peace since achieving autonomy in 1991, just as Somalia plunged into a civil war from which it has yet to emerge.
In theory, Somaliland looks like any other country.
Le 1er janvier dernier, le Somaliland et l'Éthiopie ont signé
소말릴랜드를 정식
Somaliland's coast.
du Somaliland.
소말릴랜드를 에티오피아가
Somaliland.
Of Somaliland. Somaliland déclare
Somaliland.
Somaliland. Du Somaliland.
And what is Somaliland?
أو Somaliland. Somaliland.
بموجبها Somaliland.
Somaliland. Of Somaliland.
ده العالم بتاعهم.
Deal reached between Ethiopia and the breakaway region of Somaliland. In it, Addis Ababa recognizes Somaliland.
Shut up, look at that.